One of the most polarizing things to discuss in the Forza franchise is the heavy implementation of instant gratification. Say that 5 times fast, and if you're playing a Horizon game, you'll probably get a free car for it. On one hand, you have people saying that it's a good change for the game as a whole. No more grinding out races just to get one car that's barely an upgrade to the car that you have now. It keeps the game moving forward and it allows you the ability to play how you want, when you want, without holding you back. But on the other hand, though, you have people who say that it makes the game boring, removes the feeling of accomplishment and progression, leaving with a sense of nothing but, hey, look, new shiny thing. I see both sides, honestly, but having grown up on the older racing games like the first Gran Turismo, I do have a bias towards the slower pace of the older games. That feeling you get when you finally worked out the perfect combination of parts or managed to hone your skill enough to beat that one race. The feeling of not just picking a car to race an event in, but getting your car to race the event in. Ask anyone who grew up on these games, and I bet you they will all have that one car that they used more than others, that car that they spent the most time fine tuning and learning how to be fast in. You just don't get that feeling in games anymore. Nowadays, by the time you get used to the shift points in one car, you already have 6 more equal, if not better cars just sitting in your garage. It's an issue that even the most stark defenders of instant gratification can't deny. But here's the thing, am I just looking back on these games full of nostalgia and with rose tinted glasses? The inspiration for this video came from another YouTuber by the name of Raffle Waffle. If you haven't heard of him or seen his videos, I highly recommend it. He does amazing, well thought out and constructed video essays about racing games, mainly Gran Turismo, but he made a video recently discussing how old games are not as good as we proclaim them to be, how these old games don't represent the best of the best, but a severe lack of innovation on a developer's part to keep up with and just make new games better. His video explains it far better than I ever could, so if you're interested in watching it, I'll leave a link down in the description so you can check it out. To properly answer the question, we need to take a look at where this modus operandi first started to take root. The answer to where it started to go crazy really isn't a mystery. The first Horizon game is where all of this came full force. While the previous games before that did have a system in place for you to get free cars, it was trickled in by a level system. While Forza Horizon is where the dam broke, Forza Motorsport 4 is where the cracks started to show. Now, when you leveled up in Forza Motorsport 4, you could have your own choice of prize cars. In some cases, you were given 5 different cars to choose from. This system was, at least in my experience, very enjoyable. Unlike FM3, now you could choose your own adventure in a roundabout way. Each level up did have its own sort of theme, and this provided you an opportunity to acquire cars that you probably normally wouldn't have gotten, giving you sort of a nice flavor of what everything there was to have in the Forza Motorsport game. Couple that with the affinity system that awarded you a discount on upgrade parts for whatever manufacturer you showed loyalty to, and you could set yourself up to have a nice, comfy credit balance, a garage full of cars you wanted, and have them modified to whatever extent you saw fit. This, however, did not fully eliminate the problem of being broke in the game. Car packs in Forza Motorsport 4 dropped on a regular basis, and with the massive release of the Porsche pack, which had a total of 30 cars in it, with 18 of them being production cars you could fully modify, there was always something out there just trying to drain your credit balance and your real life bank balance. This left some people with the feeling of burnout and fatigue trying to gather up all the cars they wanted. So much so that in the small time I spent making videos on FM4, I can remember multiple times when people would ask me how I had so many credits. And in response, I even made a lackluster guide about earning credits. What wasn't shown on screen though was how much time I spent playing that game. Or maybe I did, I'm not sure, I have to actually go look at it. But we cannot go on talking without, discussing the elephant in the room. Car tokens. The ability to spend real world money on in-game tokens just to buy cars outright. To be honest, I completely forgot that Forza Motorsport 4 had them. It wasn't until I was halfway into writing the next section that I remembered that the token system was actually introduced in FM4. Being able to skip the grind altogether is the cornerstone of this whole bit. The more I think about it, the more I remember using tokens, and I remember the first time that I actually used a lot of tokens was the release of the Porsche pack. It was a big deal when it was announced, but I went back through some of the old forum posts talking about him. The reception was neutral. Some people said that it was an excellent addition to the game. Why not spend a few bucks on a couple of tokens and get those expensive cars you want? But others did express their annoyance with it, but overall were just indifferent. They didn't really care one way or the other. Until the release of the Forza reward program, which came out 2 years after FM4's release, buying tokens with Microsoft points was the only way to get them. They did remove them though in Horizon 3, well, until they brought them back one last time with the Blizzard Mountain expansion. When Horizon was released, this was a whole new beast. A virtual playground where you could not only do whatever you wanted, but you were encouraged to just go nuts. It boasted a physics system comparable to FM4, but it was leaning more on the arcade feeling style, so you could do some of the more outrageous things you never thought you'd be able to get to do with cars. Horizon made it possible by just giving you more credits than you knew what to do with. I went back and watched some of my old Horizon videos, and even though I was in a different car for every video, my credit balance would just keep going up. The car picking decision went from what is the most logical to what would be the most fun. But the first Horizon game featured something that we would never really see the likeness of again: a story mode. In the first Horizon game, you are portrayed as a new person joining the Horizon Festival for the first time. You needed to prove you were the best driver by ultimately beating the previous festival's champion. While the story was pretty basic, it gave you something to work towards. The later games did attempt some sort of continuity, but they never quite hit the same feeling as the first one. Instead of proving you are good enough to be invited to take part in cool events, you're just told to do cool events because, hey, since you are here. The first Horizon game is widely regarded as the best Horizon in the series, with each later game being seen as not quite as good. Not saying they are bad in their own sense, these games proved to be more popular than the much older Motorsport series and had a longevity that the Motorsport games could never touch. Forza Horizon 5 still has a fairly active player base almost 2 years after its release. At the time of writing this at 10 a.m. on a Thursday, 1,500 active Twitch viewers are watching the game being played, with well over 100 different streamers playing the game. Now, mind you, I didn't record that, I should have, but this is what it is now. By comparison, Forza Motorsports had 3 total viewers across 3 streams. Now, granted, Forza Motorsport 7 is over 5 years old, and the only racing games that maintain any level of viewership besides Horizon is iRacing and Assetto Corsa, each for their own unique elements. But this just goes to show that whatever the Horizon series was doing was working. Despite what we think about racing games, they are only made for one purpose: to make money for the developers. So with the success of the first Horizon game on full display, it's no wonder they would double down on the success and keep pushing this style of fast-paced, instant gratification serving gameplay. But by this time, the cat was out of the bag. Avatar customizations is nothing new, but now it is something that had almost no limits to, and the art team just kept bringing up bigger and cooler things for people to collect. I never really have been someone to care about that stuff, but I'm in the minority here. People love it, and they rush to get whatever the next crazy outfit is. Not just Avatar cosmetics, but you had horns for your car, you had special little sayings that you could pop off in multiplayer, and it's no surprise that rare cars were also thrown into the mix of rewards that could be given out to players. And what better way to deal out these nice fancy prizes than with a big fancy slot machine? With each iteration of the prize spin being made easier and easier to obtain, we were on the fast track to being buried in rewards. The first Horizon game gave out spins based on your online multiplayer level, but in Horizon 2, it was just your basic Horizon driver level. They started adding special perks that offered you a chance to buy a spin with just credits or to unlock it with a perk. They also gave you spins for completing Forzathon challenges. It seemed like no matter what you did, you would get a spin. Finish a race, get a spin. Do a jump, get a spin. Spend 5 minutes driving like a hooligan in an open spot. Okay, you get it. You get a spin for that too. They did start to tone it down after the third Horizon game, but the prize spins just ended up getting bigger. Super Wheel spins gave you a chance to win 3 prizes at once, and they were not that hard to obtain. Depending on the race and what car you were driving, you could possibly win a chance to get multiple spins and super spins, netting you several cars and customization features at once for very little effort. The developers did, however, catch on to people just accumulating endless super spins, and on February 1st, 2022, they removed spins earned by car mastery from the game completely. But spins were not the only way we had rewards dumped on us. Accolades became a part of the game where you could earn rewards for basically driving around and doing basic in-game things. The rewards could just be random sayings you pop off in multiplayer chats to super rare cars that were only available through that system. The reward spin gimmick was tried in Forza Motorsport 6, but with lackluster results. The main complaint of it was, and wait for it, bad prizes. People were frustrated that the spin would more often or not land on the credit payouts than the rare cars you'd see while the spinner spun. And seeing how we didn't see a return of the system in Forza Motorsport 7, it's safe to say the little experiment kind of failed, but it did give birth to a new form of choose your prize and the ability to pick either a driver cosmetic, 400,000 credit discount on a pre-chosen car, which most often or not made them free to obtain, or just a flat credit bonus. And quite honestly, this is a system that I don't mind too much, but we'll get into Forza Motorsport 7 a little later on. In a game like the Horizon series, being restricted to the number of cars you can have is in itself ruining the game. The original notion of the Horizon series was to explore and experiment with cars in ways you never had before. You can't exactly do that without a vast number of cars to choose from, though. This is where the problem comes crashing down on the people. It's not that we were given prizes and cars for pretty much no effort, it's that we had nothing to do with them. In Forza Motorsport 4 and Horizon 7, both games had a system in place to let you bypass the grind altogether, yet those games are praised as the best in the Forza franchise. So that can't just be the whole story. A few prize spins don't just ruin a gaming experience. It's actually a combination of several things. In Horizon 5, if you are so inclined and you pick the right car, you could just use that single car to complete every event in the game. I chose the RS200 and I'm currently trying to do it with one of the prize cars you get from the first Horizon event that you complete. There's nothing pushing someone to experience other cars. Sure, the game will say, this is an off-road vehicle race only, but really all you have to do is just pick another option and presto, you can just use your car. I honestly cannot remember if there was a case where I was forced to change my cars other than the Forzathon events, and if it did happen, it was a rarity that I just never really noticed. But that kind of brings up an argument. The game is boring because I chose to not change my car. And honestly, they're right. I decided to not change my car because I just didn't care to. It didn't matter what car I used, the rewards would be the same, the event would still be checked off the board, and the same dull, repetitive dialogue would play. And on the topic of dialogue, each progressive game seemed to test the limits of how much people could talk while saying absolutely nothing. It took me about 30 minutes into the Horizon 5 game to just mute the dialogue altogether. This doesn't stop them from taking your game hostage with unskippable cutscenes and forcing you to sit through one of the NPCs giving you the background of a story, but it was an improvement. The later Horizon games took the one thing that people could still get excited about and just threw it in the trash. I love trying out new cars and seeing what they can do, but never in a Horizon game. If I'm going to choose, I hop onto Forza Motorsport 7 and grab a random car, then just drive it around Nürburgring, which, thank you, Forza Motorsport, for not having at launch. But it's a fun pastime that I had ever since I've been playing racing games. It gives me no rewards, no progression, but anytime I found a racing game that I enjoyed, it's what I would do. In Horizon 5, though, I just never get excited about getting a new car. It no longer feels like, a tool you need to accomplish a task, but it's just an accessory that you express yourself with. Most cars can be upgraded to an outrageous degree with a 12 or 16 cylinder engine being swapped in, then having an all wheel drive conversion being thrown onto it, making almost all cars feel identical. And this is where instant gratification made the most significant impact. To people who want to run around and experience different cars, the feeling is just neutral. There's no longer any excitement for what car comes next because both nothing and everything is next. Nothing in the sense that it doesn't matter what happens to you, you will always be in a place where you get what you want, and what you want is never that hard to get. And everything in the sense that there's no need to focus on anything because everything is accessible. You don't have to worry about having the right car because every car is the right car. We honestly did this to ourselves, and if we went back in time, I don't think things would end up any differently. Back in the long gone yesteryear of FM1 and 2, we barely had a couple of hundred cars to choose from. And I just realized how absurd that is, saying barely had with a car list of 200 plus cars in it. Imagine Street Fighter with only 200 people to choose from. But now, if games don't have at least 500 cars in the base game, we riot. Unless you dedicate your life to the game, getting to experience all of the ones that you want and trying a couple of things you didn't realize you wanted will just be a mindless bore of grinding and repetitiveness. Which brings me to Forza Motorsport 7. I started playing it again not too long ago, trying to get back into swing of racing for the upcoming reboot of Forza Motorsport. And apparently they're getting kind of cranky that we keep saying Forza Motorsport 8, but whatever. The balance of the game feels pretty good. The mod things that you could add to challenge yourself that would remove certain systems or just give you a straight credit boost are a nice touch. They help keep your credit balance sort of fluffed up enough to where you can experience a lot of cars, but not so much that you can go crazy. Now, once you get past the very lackluster career, earning credits through the very small but active community of online racers is kind of a slog. I've been no way fast enough to keep up with the people who still play FM7, and to support my hobby of rounding the ring in random cars, I had to do a few grind races. 100 laps at Daytona netted me about 800,000 credits, and while I thought it would last me, I did end up spending most of it on the discounted reward cards. I'm still on a budget, but with as old as this game is, and in perspective how little I've played it, I feel like I'm right where I should be. Any car I want to get, I can find a way to obtain it, but it might take a little bit of doing. I just no longer have any progression to help me give that drive to keep on moving on. Overall, as much as I hate to say it, instant gratification, whether you like it or not, it's needed. What is not acceptable, though, is sacrificing all the feeling of progression and reward for the sake of giving us as many things at once as they can. The new motorsport game coming out shows promise and bring back sort of that sense of accomplishment, but I don't know a lot on it, so I don't want to give a is it good, is it bad. I'm going to wait to play it and see, or just to develop a real opinion on it. I'm going to stay hopefully optimistic, but I'm not going to praise it if it's bad, if that makes sense. There might be some things I missed in this, but overall, the statement kind of stays. It's not great, but we can't live without it. And it's something that's just going to be here to stay. What do you guys think on it? Do you enjoy having the rewards every 15, 20 minutes? Or would you like the game to slow down, let you breathe without throwing 5 or 10 rewards just for switching cars and driving down the street? Again, let me know how you feel about this. Too many rewards? Not enough? Somehow? If you're one of those people? And for those of you who actually made it this far, thank you for sticking around. I know it's kind of been a hot mess. This is my first sort of essay style video to come out, and I know that it is rough. Hopefully I can get better. I've been working on this for a few weeks, even though it doesn't show. But I would appreciate some feedback. The just what do you think I could do better? Believe it or not, a lot of this was scripted. I did go off script a few times, so see if you can find the points whenever I did. I'd be curious to see if you can. But as for the upcoming Forza game, I'm going to be streaming the hell out of that whenever it drops. I've been streaming recently on my Twitch channel, link in the description as well. I sure hope I remember to put all the stuff in the description that I need. But we've been playing there. I played some Gran Turismo 4, some of the first Horizon game. I dragged my Xbox out and I've been playing that. I have all the motorsport games from 1 to 7. So I'm planning to play those games in succession, like 1, 2, 3, all the way up to the new one. And whenever the new one releases, I'll play that, and we'll take off. I'm rambling. This is 100% not scripted on this part. But anyways, thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for just being here. Y'all's response on the first video that I uploaded the other day. I never expected to come back after 5 years on my last real video and actually get, the support I did, seeing you guys show up, asking how I was doing. Thank you. That means a lot to me. So I guess until next time, hello everyone, I'm Jack, and welcome to Forza Motorsport. Now we gotta edit this thing, and it is 100 degrees in this damn room. I swear to God, I just...